Cotton plays a significant role in the social and economic life of many developing countries. Importance of cotton is very visible in many African economies. However, many cotton-growing African countries face several challenges, including poor reputation, low marketability, and price discounts of cotton due to poor quality control, missing monitoring and quality assurance systems, resulting in high contamination levels of their cotton. In order to address these key trade-related issues and challenges, the International Trade Center (ITC), with funding from the European Union, has initiated an Africa-Asia business partnership. This initiative has been launched to help the key stakeholders in the cotton industry, growers, ginners, and spinners, to better understand issues of mutual interests and to forge long-term collaboration between them. As a part of this partnership, Square Textile Ltd, a premier spinning company in Bangladesh, has teamed up with the ITC to work with African cotton producers and exporters. Square Textiles uses both machine-harvested cotton and hand-picked cotton. The machine-harvested cotton generally comes from the USA and Australia, while the hand-picked cotton is imported from India, CIS, and African countries. Hand-picked cotton is in fact better cotton than machine-picked cotton, as the cotton maintains its intrinsic fiber quality. Square Textiles uses large quantities of African cotton for its spinning mill and therefore is interested in this collaborative venture with African cotton ginners, exporters and traders to ensure supply of quality cotton. Unfortunately, many spinners that import and use hand-picked cotton often complain about contamination that undermines the quality of its products, that are cotton yarn as well as fabrics and clothing produced out of it. The management at Square Textiles believes that the issue of contamination can best be addressed through this collaborative partnership with African cotton producers and ginners.
We have been using African cotton in our spinning process for about 15 years. The cotton we are buying mainly from European traders, not directly from the African cotton farmers or the ginners. European traders or merchants, they buy that cotton and supply that to us. There are some problems very common, which is number one, contamination. This is foreign fiber and polypropylene contamination, and also we find mixed packed bales. In the same bale, many different color grades are baled together, which drastically reduces the value of the cotton, the spinning value of the cotton. And ultimately, in our spinning process, we have to add around 3 cents per pound just to segregate the contamination. We believe there is an ample scope to improve, because other hand-picked countries like India, Central Asia, even some African countries already put some effort and improved and got better results.
Production flow and system at the Square. Square Textiles has established state-of-the-art textile units to process cotton lint. It follows 2 standard spinning technologies. These are ring spinning, carded and combed yarn, and open-end or rotary spinning. In these 2 production technologies, the certain common procedures are followed in making yarns.
Manufacture yarn in 2 spinning process. One is open-end spinning process and another is ring spinning process. In case of open-end spinning process, at first we select the raw materials. Then we open the bales and segregate contamination from bales. Then we rebel the materials, and these materials are then feed in the uniflow machine, lay down, and in lay down also we segregate contamination. In the blow room, we use unifloat machines, unimix machines, uniclean machines, and fine cleaner machines. In blow room we have another process also, that is MBO line. In that line we use stack mixing. Then in blow room machines we segregate contamination from contamination sorter and metal detector. These contaminations are segregated from these materials and reuse these materials. Then the materials are transferred in the carding section. We get card sliver in the carding section. These card slivers are fed in the breaker drawing. 6 doubling is used in the breaker drawing. Then these breaker drawing slivers are fed in the finisher drawing. 6 doubling also used here. And finisher drawing sliver is fed in the autochrome machines. In autochrome machines we get autochrome yarn. These yarns are transferred in the heatset machine for conditioning. After conditioning, these yarns are packed into 50 kg bags. This is the open end spinning process. And in the ring spinning process, same as opening spinning process, but in between breaker drawing and finisher drawing, we add another 2 processes. One is unilap and another is comber, with a view to remove short fibers from the sliver. After finisher drawing, the materials are fed in the simplex machines where roving is produced. These rovings are fed in the ring machines where yarn is manufactured. We produce 2 types of yarn. One is normal yarn and another is fancy yarn. In case of normal yarn, we produce husiari yarn and woven yarn, also denim yarn. In case of fancy yarn, we produce slab yarn, Syro yarn, injected yarn and core yarn. These yarns are transferred in the winding section and make cone. These cone are transferred in the heatset machines for conditioning. After conditioning, these cones are packed into 50 kg bag. This is the spinning process in our factory.
Identification of contamination. At the spinning process, adequate care is taken to ensure that there is no speck of impurity in the cotton lint. Square Textiles has put in place a comprehensive quality control and monitoring system to track down and eliminate the risk of contamination at various stages of yarn production.
Most of the African origin cottons having contaminations. So from those contaminations, major one is polypropylene, and these polypropylenes are coming with cotton in different types. One is some intact polypropylene, and some polypropylenes are coming in fibrous form. So these fibrous polypropylene contaminations very difficult to sorting out from the cotton, especially white color polypropylene. So in this case, cotton we have 3 segregation stages. One is the manual sorting, number 2 is cotton sorter machine in blow room, and number 3 is yarn clearer in winding. So in a manual sorting stage, we normally in some origin of African cottons, we need to use 2 stages. First stage we use 2 lever per bale, and second stage 1 lever per bale, because of intensity of the contamination. So then we use cotton sorter in blow room, and machine having some limitations, so some contamination after cotton sorter going through the process. And then we use contamination for contamination clearing devices in winding machine. There are also some limitations. So in all stages some limitations are there. That's why some contaminations going through the yarn, and finally it appears in the fabric.
Square Textiles, since it was set up in 1997, has also meticulously studied the nature, source, and flow of cotton contamination at various stages of its processing. It realized that contamination begins at the cotton field and is determined by the conditions in which cotton is being harvested, gathered, wrapped, stored, loaded, and transported. Another major source of contamination may be at the ginnery, its working environment, and level of environmental awareness of its workforce. Square Textiles identified over time a host of impure substances that creep into the cotton bales. In short, the most common types of contaminants are as follows: pieces of polypropylene, dyed and raw white yarns, human hair, animal hair, bird feathers, jute threads, rope, long bark pieces, mint wrappers, paper, plastic strings, pieces bamboo from basket, cable, wire, nuts, bolts, metal, PVC, clothing pieces and color fiber, wrappings of chocolate, biscuit, pickles, tobacco, cigarette, shampoo, leaf, seed coats, environmental wastage, etc.
We found these contaminations in 3 bales of African cotton. So here we found some black, yellow, blue and white color polypropylene contamination, and some pieces of different color fabrics, and some human hair, some other contaminations, and some Hessian rope, and etc.
Preferred bale covering or wrapping. Cotton fabric wrapping is the most preferable bale covering material compared with others. In the context of Bangladesh, most spinning mills have the following covering preferences. 95% prefer cotton cloth wrappings with metal or plastic straps. 26% prefer thick polyethylene bags with metal or plastic straps. 11% prefer Hessian cloth with steel straps, besides other impure materials. Square Textiles identified non-disposable polypropylene and polyethylene fibers as the most hazardous contamination because they create prominent spot defects both in color and white fabric if they cannot be detected and eliminated from the cotton during the spinning process. All this may be attributed to the lack of awareness in the course of the processing of cotton fiber. At the factory level, lack of a standard monitoring and supervision system, as well as inappropriate and ineffective ginning processes, may also lead to retention of impurity in the cotton bales. Problems of contamination. For spinning mills, high level of contamination in cotton lint has severe financial implications apart from the loss of credibility in the international market. As a consequence, spinners need to invest more in labor and upgrading technology to remove all forms of impurities while processing cotton lint into yarn. Despite large investments in cleaning technology and employing hundreds of additional staff, no spinning factory can guarantee that all contaminants are detected and removed from the cotton.
We have to depend on visual inspection for identifying contamination. Usually we have to open the cotton bales and inspect a bulk quantity to identify the contamination, the presence of contamination in the cotton. Cottons of different origins, especially African cotton, we face this contamination problem huge. We do consume 8 to 10% of African cotton. Actually, the contamination that present in the cotton bale, there is a easily passes through the spinning process to the yarn and up to the fabric and garments. And finally, the garments rejects for the presence of contamination. That's why the consumer wants contamination-free yarn for contamination-free fabric. Usually, contamination-free yarn can be ensured with the contamination-free cotton, and for this reason, the USA or Australian contamination-free cotton is in good demand. But still, we have to use other origin cotton for the availability and other intrinsic quality parameters. We are to use some contamination sorting equipment in the spinning blue room line, and naturally this sort of contamination sorting equipment or the machines are costly. So this is additional cost involvement. The additional manpower, at the same time additional machinery is a big cost involvement for the contaminated cotton. It is hardly possible to ensure contamination-free cotton even with this contamination sorter. So there is a chance of the presence of contamination in the yarn. We have to additionally use some contamination clearer in the winding section to clear the contamination from the yarn. That also a huge cost involvement in the spinning. So this all comes a big hassle, a disturbance in the production line, the production losses, increase of wastage, and decreased productivity in the spinning. But still, some contamination passes through the yarn and converts it into fabric and garments. Finally, the contaminated fabric goes for rejection. So that is the final financial compensation comes up.
A tiny impure material in cotton lint could spoil hundreds of thousands of yards of fabric, resulting in cancellation of order by buyers, colossal loss of investment, and overall loss of reputation of the company. Damages also occur in various forms, such as 1. Cost of employing additional staff. 2. Risks of fire in the blow room line due to presence of metal parts damaging wear of the blow room and carding machines. 3. Decreased yarn quality, as machines cannot detect white polypropylene and it remains in the yarn. And 4. Reduces productivity and efficiency. Sometimes the spinners have to compensate its customer with 3 to 5% of the export order value, have to compensate its customer 5 to 7% of the value of the letter of credit. Yarn is returned from weaving and knitting mills, or yarn had to be replaced. Recommendations. So, what should be done? Square Textiles recommends to eliminate contamination at the source, that is, at the grower's level during harvesting, gathering of cotton piles, wrapping, loading, and transporting to collection centers, and onwards to the ginning factory. Pickers have to be made aware of the ill effects and damages of contamination and the need for foolproof clean harvesting, packaging, and storage systems. Adequate attention for a neat and clean environment is a must to avoid contamination and achieve absolute purity while processing seed cotton and producing lint in the form of cotton bales. Square Textiles recommends that cotton farmers and engineers work closely together to reduce the risk of contamination and to ensure purity of the cotton fiber. This will help both to raise the standard of the fiber and its price. Square Textiles provides a few practical tips to cotton farmers, most of which can be followed without any financial implication. Just a little attention and care can do wonders.
We have found the farmers and the engineers use a huge quantity of polypropylene bag, even fertilizer bags, since those are available. But these polypropylene bags and the strings of polypropylene easily comes into the fresh cotton and contaminate it. And this sort of white polypropylene is very difficult to sort from cotton because it is of cotton color. Even the machine cannot detect it. So it is highly recommended not to bring the polypropylene bags in the ginning process, in the picking and ginnery house, during the transportation, even wrapping the bales. Besides this, during the processing in the machine, the oils and grease may contaminate the fresh cotton. Even the condition of the ginning house, that is the cleaning condition of the ginning house, to be ensured properly, and with a strong supervision they should maintain it.
Clean field before picking. Don't use polypropylene bags in the cotton field. Use white cotton bags for harvesting. Strong supervision during the picking, ginning and baling process. Workers to use aprons, scarves and must not carry food materials like chocolate, food packets, etc. in the field. Careful transportation to the ginning factory. Sort dead fiber, color fiber, oily fiber before ginning. Careful handling to avoid stains of cotton from oil and grease. Keep good flow conditions at the ginning factory. Sort out contamination during ginning. Use contamination detection machines during ginning. Use automated ginning equipment. Never stir cotton on wet surfaces. Machine bundling. Avoid polypropylene or Hessian bag wrapping material. Use cloths instead of polypropylene for packing. Avoid use of polypropylene bags at every stage. Pack or wrap bales with grey cotton fabrics. Keep polypropylene away from cotton. Keep color mats and damaged cotton away from seed and lint cotton. And introduce quality assurance measures at all stages. Cotton experts emphasize that hand-picked African cotton is highly valued as it retains its intrinsic fiber quality, which gets lost in the sophisticated machine-aided process in the USA and Australia. If only the contamination could be reduced or eliminated, African hand-picked cotton could fetch a premium over machine-picked cotton of the same grade. Square Textiles believes contamination can be avoided by building awareness and monitoring capacity of farmers and the workforce at ginning factories, and improving monitoring and supervision systems in the ginning factory.
People awareness in the farming stage, the farmers and the people who are engaged in picking cotton should be aware about their use of fabrics, the hairs, even the use of polypropylene bag. Better, it is recommended to use cotton bag for collecting cotton from field to ginning house.
Benefits. In Africa, cotton is grown on small-scale farms, and thus millions of farming families are directly involved in the production and processing of cotton. Therefore, if the lint purity is maintained while producing clean lint, hand-picked cotton can fetch premium prices over machine-picked cotton. Square Textiles proposes a long-term business relationship with African farmers and engineers as they have a common interest and stake. Through regular exposure visits, exchange of knowledge, and sharing of best practices between cotton producers, ginners and spinners. This will help to build a better understanding, leading to long-term South-South business linkages in a mutual win-win situation. The ITC Square Textiles partnership to support African farmers is a bold but only a first step in the right direction. Bangladesh, as the Bangladesh Textile Mills Association BTMA 2011-2012 report says, gets 78% of its export earnings from textile and textile-related products, worth about $20.13 billion. The sector generates more than 5 million jobs and about 12% of Bangladesh's GDP.
Obviously, it will be beneficial for the African ginners or the farmers because that will command a higher premium price from the international market.
Therefore, by joining in this business endeavor with Square Textiles, the African cotton and textile industry will be able to contribute significantly to employment, amelioration of rural poverty, and contributing to achieving the Millennium Development Goals.
The International Trade Centre. Export Impact for Good.